Okay.
1 second.
That means it's on.
We got to get you a silence on your phone.
Well, I got to remember to turn off this.
Are you ready?
That's my
Okay,
reminder.
good morning. Today's daf is daf Lamed Aleph Amud Aleph 31a. We're going to start though with the last 8 lines of Lamed Amud Beis from yesterday. The Gemara just closes its discussion from yesterday about 2 individual witnesses witnessing 2 different events, but when put together, they yield that somebody owes a debt to another person. And the Gemara says, Nahardoi Amri, the rabbis from Naharda said, Bein Hoda'a Achar Hoda'a, whether one witness witnessed an admission followed by the other witness witnessing an admission. Bein Hoda'a Achar Halva, or whether there was an admission following a loan. Bein Halva'a Achar Halva, or whether there was one loan they witnessed following then another loan. Bein Halva'a Achar Hoda'a, or a loan which following an admission. Mitztarfos, in all those cases, the 2 individual witnesses, they can join together their testimony. Keman Rabbi Yehoshua ben Karcha, like Rabbi Yehoshua ben Karcha said, that the 2 witnesses need not witness the event at the same time. Now the Gemara begins a new discussion. Amar Rabbi Yehuda said, Eidos hamachesha zu et zu, b'bedikos keshera b'dinei mamonis. Rabbi Yehuda says that if 2 of the witnesses contradict themselves when it comes to the cross-examining, so if the contradiction is in an aspect of the testimony which is not essential to the case, then when it comes to monetary cases, we can still accept the testimony, even though they've contradicted themselves in a certain part of the testimony. He's going to give an example of that. Amar Rava said, Mistavra milsad Rabbi Yehuda be'echad omer ba'arniki shechora ve'echad omer ba'arniki levana. Rava said that what Rabbi Yehuda is saying makes sense if 2 different witnesses are testifying about a monetary case, and one says that the wallet that was involved was a black wallet, and one says it was a white wallet, then even though those facts aren't in line, we can still accept the overall testimony. If they are testifying and each one says the quality of the coin that was lent by one of the parties to the other parties, one says it was an older coin and one says it was a newer coin, so then in that case, ein mitztarfin, we can't accept their testimony because they're contradicting each other on a part of the testimony which is just too essential. It's the actual money which was lent. So the Gemara asks, V'arniki shechora b'dinei nefashos lo. The implication here is that if you would have a contradiction about some external factor, like the color of the wallet, when it came to a case involving a capital case, so the implication is that would not be acceptable. Rabbi Yehuda said, if there's an external factor that they contradict each other on in a monetary case, we can accept it. Implication being, if that's a capital case, we can't accept it. So the Gemara says, V'hamar Rav Chisda said, Echad omer b'sayev hargo, ve'echad omer ba'aridan hargo, ein zeh nachon. Rav Chisda said, if you have 2 witnesses, and one of the witnesses said that the murder was committed with a sword, and the other one said the murder was committed with a dagger, so ein zeh nachon. That obviously is too essential to the case. It's the actual weapon that committed the crime. We can't accept that as testimony. However, echad omer kelev shcharim ve'echad omer kelev levanim, if they contradict each other about what color clothes the murderer was wearing, harei zeh nachon, that is acceptable, and that's a capital case. So the Gemara answers at the top now of Lamed Aleph Amud Aleph, Gavra agavra karamis, that is just 2 different amoraim, and they're arguing with each other. Rav Chisda said that if there is an argument about a non-essential issue in a capital case, we can accept it. And Rav Yehuda said that if it's a capital case, even though it's a non-essential issue to the testimony, we can't accept it. Top line, Nahardoi Amri, the rabbis from Naharda said, Afilu echad omer mana shachar ve'echad omer mana lavan mitztarfin. They went to the other extreme and they said, even if they contradict each other in their testimony about what the quality of was of the coin that was lent, we can still join their testimony together to require the person to say that he owes that much money. Kiman, what's that based on? Rabbi Yehoshua ben Karcha. That is based on the opinion of Rabbi Yehoshua ben Karcha that we saw yesterday, which is they need not witness the event at the same time. If they don't even need to witness the event at the same time, we can even now extend that to taking their testimony, even if it doesn't fully match up. So the Gemara rejects that and says, Eimar deshamet le'le Rabbi Yehoshua ben Karcha heicha delo mekachshi adadi. Rabbi Yehoshua ben Karcha only accepted two individual testimonies to be joined together when the testimonies don't contradict. But heicha demechashi adadi mi amar. Whoever said that he would allow the two testimonies to be joined if they actually are contradicting each other on the facts of what happened. Ella. So what is this based on? The opinion of the Nahardais. Elahuda Amar ki haitanya. It's based on the following opinion of the Tana in the Brisa, the Sanya. Amar Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar. Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar said, Lo nechleku beis Shammai ubeis Hillel al shtei kitei edim, she'achas omeres masayim, ve'achas omeres mana, sheyesh bechlal masayim mana. Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel both agree that if you have two sets of witnesses, and one set of witnesses says this party owes $200, and the other set of witnesses says this party owes $100, everyone agrees that we would obligate the person to pay $100 because $100 is at least included in the $200 that the other side claims he owes. However, Alma Nechleku, what is the source of machlokas between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel? Al kas achas, if you have one set of witnesses, you only have one set, Beis Shammai omrim, and one of them says this person owes $200, and the other one witness says he owes $100, then what do we do? Can we combine those two individual testimonies to at least obligate the person to pay $100? That's the question at hand. Beis Shammai says, Nechleka edusan. Since they contradict, one is saying 100, the other one is saying 200, we can't join their testimony together. Beis Hillel Omer, Beis Hillel says, Yesh Bechlal Masayim Mana. Since 100 is included in the testimony of 200, we can at least take their testimony together and obligate the person to pay 100. If Echad Omer Chavas Shal Yayin, if one says that he owes him a barrel of wine, Ve'echad Omer Chavas Shal Shemen, and one says he owes him a barrel of oil, Hava Uvda, this was an actual incident, V'asi L'Kamed Rabbi Ami, it was presented to Rabbi Ami, and Chayve Rabbi Ami L'Shalum Elei Chavisa Dechamra Migoy Chavisa Demishcha. Rabbi Ami required the person to pay a barrel of wine out of a barrel of oil, meaning the barrel of oil in those days was more valuable than the barrel of wine. So he said, if one is saying that you are chayav to pay a barrel of oil, the other one is saying a barrel of wine, I can take those two testimonies together and say that you're chayav at least a barrel of wine. So the Gemara points out, the Gemara asks and says, Kiman, who's that based on? Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar. That's based on this opinion of Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar here, who said that Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel say that same idea, that if you have the two witnesses and they argue, one says 100, one says 200, we can obligate the person at least to pay 100. So the Gemara asks, Eimar de Amar Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar, Heicha Diesh Bechlal Masayim Mana. That's only true if the two individual testimonies, one of them is saying an amount which is included in the other one. However, Ki hai gavna mi lo amar. Mi amar, sorry. Ki hai gavna mi amar. In this case, where each individual witness is testifying to a completely different item. One is saying the item that was given over was a barrel of wine. The other one says it was a barrel of oil. There's nothing, the two are not alike at all. So the Gemara says, lo tzricha. You're right, that would be correct, that we would not be able to join those two testimonies. The case we're talking about is lidame. What the testimony was divided on was, one says he gave him the amount of money of a barrel of oil. The other one says he lent him the amount of money of a barrel of wine, to which Rabbi Ami then ruled that we can at least give him the amount of the barrel of wine because that is included in the amount of the barrel of oil. Echad Omer b'dyuta ha'elyon of Echad Omer b'dyuta ha'tachtona. If one said the loan took place in the upper level of a building, and the other one said, I saw the same loan take place, but it took place in the lower level of the building. Amar Rabbi Chanina. Reb Chanina said, Maaseh bo lefnei Rebbe v'tzirei fidusan. Rebbe did accept that, even though, again, the facts that they're testifying on where it took place was different. Since they both agreed that that loan specifically took place, he did combine the testimony. The last part of the Mishnah said, when the litigants leave, a person, if a litigant is found to be guilty, the judge should not go over to the litigant and say, I really voted in your favor, but what can I do? Because all those other judges outvoted me, and that's why that's why you were found guilty. You should not say that. So the Brisa, the Gemara is going to bring a Brisa which says a similar idea. Tanu Rabbanan, minayin lekashiyetze lo yomar hareini mizake. I found you innocent, v'chaverai mechayvin, and it was my fellow judges who said that you were guilty. Aval ma esa shechaver rabu alai. What can I do that I was voted out? Talmud Lomar, the pasuk says, Lo selech rachil be'almecha. You shouldn't gossip. You shouldn't share that information. V'omer, and another pasuk says, Holech rachil, the one who goes ahead and gossips, megala sod, and reveals secrets. Hahu talmida denafik aleha kala. There was a certain student, and there was a rumor about him. Degali milsa de itmar be midrasha basar esrin v'tartin shnin. That there was a rumor going around. He had a secret. He shared something that was said in the study hall, in the Beis Medrash, that was a secret 22 years prior. And people said that he went around and he revealed this secret. So Afke Rav Ami, Rabbi Ami removed this student, Mibei Midrasha. He kicked him out of the study hall. Omar, he said, Dain Gale Razia. This is somebody who reveals the secrets of others. Okay, the final mission of the parak here begins. Calls man shemevi raya soser sadin. As long as a person has basically, there's no limit on when a person can bring more evidence to a case and to have it overturned. Calls man, whenever they can bring proof, we can always soser sadin. We can go back and we can change the previous ruling. However, there are 3 exceptions, and the Mishnah is going to list 3 of them now. Omar lo, if the judges tell the litigant, any evidence which you have must be presented within the next 30 days. So then, if he brings it within 30 days, we can overturn the ruling. If he brings it after 30 days, eino soser. We gave him a time limit, and the time limit passed, so then we can't overturn the ruling. Amar Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel said, what do you want for the guy? You gave him a time limit. He tried to find his evidence. He couldn't find it, and he found it late. We're not going to not accept it because of that. The next case, Amar lo, have edim, v'amar ainli edim. Amar have raya, v'amar ainli raya. They say to him, produce witnesses or produce evidence that support you. And he says, I don't have any witnesses, or I don't have any evidence that supports me. Ula'achar, and at a later point, hevi raya, umatza edim. He brings and supports. He brings evidence, or he brings witnesses. Harei eino klum. The Chachamim say that we don't accept it. Once he pronounces to us that he doesn't have evidence or he doesn't have witnesses, he can't then go bring them later. We suspect that something fishy is going on. To which Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel argues again, and he says, Ma yaseh shelo hayodeh sheyesh lo edim umatza edim lo hayodeh sheyesh lo raya umatza raya. What do we want for his life? He said that he doesn't have. He didn't realize that he really did have witnesses or evidence that support him. He forgot about it, and he then went later and he found it. And Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel says we would accept it in that case. The third case, Ra'ash mischayev badin. If he sees, after telling us that he doesn't have any supporting witnesses or evidence, and he sees they're about to vote him guilty, v'amar, and he says, actually, kirvu ploni uploni v'ya'iduni. I appoint these 2 witnesses, and I would like them to step forward and say something on my behalf. Or he whips out a piece of evidence from his belt, from in his pocket that he had there the whole time. Even according to Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, we can't accept that. Because if he knew specifically if he's pointing out who those specific witnesses are, or we see that he's pulling out evidence from his pocket, which he had with him at the time when he said, I don't have any evidence, so then already we suspect that something is fishy, because if it's right there in your pocket, you should have known that you had it. So we can't just attribute that to saying, oh, you forgot about it. We suspect that really you knew about what was in your pocket, and you're taking it out now. It's really maybe somehow forged or it's incorrect, and you're taking it out as some sort of last resort. So the Gemara comments on this and says, Amar Rabba bar Huna, halacha Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. The halacha follows Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. We would allow the person, after making a statement of not having it, or after being given a time limit, we would allow them to still produce witnesses or evidence. The Amar Rabba bar Huna, Ein halacha kedivrei chachamim. The halacha does not follow the chachamim. So the Gemara asks, Pshita, well, that's pretty obvious. Kevan de Amar halacha Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. Once you stated the halacha does follow Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, memela yadinan de'ein halacha kachachamim. That obviously tells us, we infer that the halacha doesn't follow the chachamim. So why was it necessary to make both statements? So the Gemara says, Mahu detei mahani mili lechatchila. One may have thought if he said the halacha follows Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, one may have thought that's only lechatchila at the outset. Avol b'diavad shapir dami. But if after the fact the court erroneously ruled against the chachamim and they did not allow a person to produce further evidence or witnesses after stating that they don't have any, you may think that after the fact we would allow that case to follow through. Kamash Malan, Rabba bar Huna was telling us di avid mahadrin alay, that in no way does the halacha follow the chachamim, and if the court ruled like that, we would have to overturn the ruling and re-rule it. Amar lo have edim. If they ask him to produce witnesses and he says he doesn't have any, and then he produces them, we had a machlokes. The chachamim said that's unacceptable, and Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel said we would still accept the edim later. Amar Rabba bar Huna, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, halacha kedivrei chachamim. In this case, in the latter case that they're arguing about, the halacha follows the chachamim, and we would not accept witnesses after he states I don't have any witnesses or evidence, and he brings it then, we wouldn't accept it. The Amar Rabba bar Huna, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, ein halacha Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. The halacha does not follow Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. So the Gemara asks, Pshita, that's obvious. Kevan de Amar halacha kedivrei chachamim, memeli yadana de'ein halacha Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. You stated the halacha follows the chachamim, which then obviously means that it doesn't follow Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. Hakamash malan dibehahi ein halacha Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. Habekulhu halacha Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. The reason he went out of his way to say the halacha does not follow Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel was specifically to stress that this is the only place where the halacha does not follow Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. That Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel is mentioned in a Mishnah, and the halacha doesn't follow him. And any other place that we see his opinion when he's arguing with the chachamim, the halacha does follow him. So the Gemara points out, La'afuke mehada amar Rabba bar Chana amar Rabbi Yochanan. This is not the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan, where Rabbi Yochanan said, Kol makom sheshana Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel b'Mishnah seinu. Any place we see Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel's opinion in a Mishnah, halacha kamoso, the halacha does follow him, chutz, except for three cases. Arev, a certain case involving a cosigner. Sidon, another case which involved a certain incident that happened in a town called Sidon. Viraya achrona, and the latter case in our Mishnah, the latter case of the raya of producing witnesses in our Mishnah. So we see that Rabbi Yochanan held that the halacha always follows Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel except for three cases, while Rabba bar Huna said the halacha always follows him except for this one case. So they argue about those two other cases, whether the halacha would follow Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. Hahu Yanuka, a story where a child was brought, to Tavu Ladina Kamei Rav Nachman. There was a child, an heir, who was brought to the court of Rav Nachman. Amar le Rav Nachman said, Islach Sahadi, do you have witnesses that say that your father does not owe this money? Amar le, the child said, Lo, I don't have anything. Islach Raya, Amar le Lo. Rav Nachman said, do you have any evidence that your father doesn't, any witnesses that your father doesn't owe the money? The person said no. So Chaybe Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman obligated the person to pay money that was owed by their father. Havakabachi va'azil, the child lost himself, the child began to cry. Shamu hanach inshi, other people who were around, I guess there, or maybe after he left the courtroom, heard that the child was crying. And they said, Amrule, anan yadinan b'mili de'abuch. We know, we're familiar with the affairs of your father, and we know that he really paid back that debt. So Amar Rav Nachman, they went back and they told Rav Nachman, and Rav Nachman said, Beha, in this scenario, afilu Rabbanan modu. Even the Rabbanan who said that once you make a statement that you have no further witnesses or evidence, you can't produce anything, they would admit here that we would accept this. Why? Because we have circumstantial evidence, or we can presume that the child wouldn't have known about the affairs of his father. So stating that he didn't have any evidence we can still disregard that because it could be that he just didn't know, and these other people shared that information with him, and we would accept it after the fact. Another story, there was a woman who had a loan document, or a document that had recorded in it a debt, and she was holding on to it. She was like a third party. Amrale, she told the judges, Yodana b'haishtara de prihava. I know that the debt that is recorded in this document, I know that it has been paid off. Haimna Rav Nachman. So Rav Nachman believed her, and he took her word for it, and therefore he didn't allow those two parties to come to court to claim it, to get the money. Amar le Rav Nachman. Rav said to Rav Nachman, Kiman, who are you ruling like? You are ruling like Rebbe. The opinion of Rebbe, which is the Amar, Osios Nichnos b'Masira. This literally means letters are acquired with handing over, which means that there's a machlokas between Rebbe and the Chachamim about if a person wants to acquire a document of debt, a loan document, so that they can then collect it. So Rebbe is of the opinion that if the person who was involved in the loan hands you over the document and they just give it to you and you now have possession of that document, you own that debt now and you have the right to collect it. While the Chachamim say just having the loan document itself is not enough of a proof that you have acquired it. Rather, you actually need some sort of bill of sale or evidence that you actually purchased it. So Rava said to Rav Nachman, you are trusting this woman to say that the loan was already paid off. Why are you trusting her? You're following the opinion of Rebbe. The opinion of Rebbe is since she is in possession of the loan document, hypothetically, if she wanted, she could have claimed the loan document belonged to her. She could have said that she purchased it. And since she could have said she purchased it, so therefore you believed her regarding her testimony that it was paid off. But Rava says, we do not follow the opinion of Rebbe. We follow the opinion of the Chachamim, that if she were to be believed that she bought it, she would need to produce some sort of other proof. So Amar Le, Rav Nachman said, no, shiny hacha. This is not a question of Rebbe and the Chachamim. Di'ibai kalse. In this case, if the woman wanted, she could have completely destroyed the evidence. We had no prior knowledge that she had this loan document. If we had prior knowledge that she had the loan document and now she's just telling us it's paid off, then it's true. We wouldn't trust her because just having the loan document is not proof that she acquired it. But in this case, if we were not even aware that she had the loan document and she comes forth and offers that information, and then on top of that, she tells us that it was paid off, then we can believe it. Because if she wanted, she could have destroyed the evidence before opening her mouth in the first place. Ika da Amri, there's an alternative version of this story, which is Lo Hemne Rav Nachman, that when the woman claimed the loan was paid off, Rav Nachman did not believe her. Amar le Rava Rav Nachman, to which Rava questioned Rav Nachman, and he said, V'ha'i ba'i kalse, we're on the top of Lamed Aleph on the base, that you should trust her, because if she wanted, she could have destroyed the evidence. So Rav Nachman answered, Kivan de ischazik b'veidina, ibai kalse lo amrinan. Since this document had already been established and verified in court that it was an authentic document, we can't even though she hypothetically could have destroyed it, that's still not strong enough of a reason to believe her regarding it. So if she's a third party and she's holding a document which was verified in court, she's not believed to really make any comments about it. Esvei Rava Rav Nachman. So Rava now questions that view of Rav Nachman, that if you're holding a document which has been verified in court, a third party doesn't have a right to make any comments about what the status is of that document. Simphon, the Brisa says, if you have a receipt for a debt, sheyesh alav edim, that is signed by witnesses, it says this person paid off their debt, yiskayim b'chosamav. It should be verified that the witnesses who signed it are really authentic. Ein alav edim, if the receipt does not have any witnesses signed on it, v'yatza mitachas yedei shlish, and it's being held by a third party, or this receipt itself is signed at the bottom of the actual loan document itself, kosher, it is acceptable. Alma, so we see, shlish mehemen, we see that the third party, it says if it's yotze mitachas yedei shlish, if a third party is holding on to the receipt, that we trust them to say, even though there's no witnesses on it, to say, this is a receipt to this loan document and it's been paid off, and we believe them. So Tiyufta de Rav Nachman, that contradicts Rav Nachman because in the second version of the story we had, Rav Nachman said, since the document has been established in Beis Din, the third party is not believed to say anything about it. And here we see in the Brisa that they were. Ki asar Rav Dimi Amar Rabbi Yochanan. When Rav Dimi came from Eretz Yisrael and he traveled to Bavel, he reported to the Talmidim in Bavel what Rabbi Yochanan in Eretz Yisrael had said. And Rabbi Yochanan said, La'ola maybe raya v'soser, ad sheyistatim ta'anosav. A person may forever bring any supporting evidence or witnesses until they make their closing arguments. V'yomar, and they say, kirvu ploni uploni v'he'iduni. I would like these specific witnesses to come and testify for me. So the Gemara says, Hagufa kasha, that's a contradiction. Amrit, the first line says, Yistatim ta'anosav, that until the closing arguments are given, the person can bring witnesses. But after that, as soon as they announce that they don't have witnesses or evidence, we don't accept anything from them further. Asan l'Rabbanan, that follows the opinion of the Chachamim in the Mishnah. The Hadar Amrit, and then you said, Kirvu ish ploni uploni v'he'iduni, that the only thing that we don't accept from them is if they identify two witnesses to step forward and testify. But anything short of that, we would always accept from them, even after the closing arguments. Asan l'Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, that follows the opinion of Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel in the Mishnah. V'chi tema kula Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, and you could possibly suggest that what we're saying here is we're stating the opinion of Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. Uperusha kamefarish, and we're explaining the opinion of Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel in detail, which is, my achi is tatim ta'anosav. What do we mean by their closing arguments? The closing arguments are ad sheyomar kirvu ploni uploni v'he'iduni. Closing arguments in this case would mean until they themselves state that they have absolutely no witnesses, and then they say, oh, actually, I want those two people to come forward and testify. Until that point, we would allow, unless that happens, we would allow them to bring supporting witnesses and evidence, and that would follow Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. That's not acceptable. We have another statement where Rabbi Yochanan himself said, Kol makom sheshana Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel b'Mishnah Seinu halacha kamoso, the statement we had on Amud Aleph. Rabbi Yochanan said, wherever Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel's opinion is recorded, we follow it. Chutz me arev, tzidan, and raya achrona. So we see that Rabbi Yochanan himself said that regarding this specific issue, the raya achrona, the latter case of the question of supporting evidence in our Mishnah, we don't follow Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. So Rabbi Yochanan's statement that he said would not have been aligned with Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. Ella ki asar of Shmuel bar Yehuda amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rather, the correct recording of events is as Rabbi Shmuel stated in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, which is la'olam maybe raya v'soser. A person may always bring supporting evidence ad sheyistatim ta'anosav, until the closing arguments. V'yomru lo, and the court says to them, have edim v'omer einli edim, havi raya v'omer einli raya. They are asked by the court, do you have any witnesses? Do you have any evidence? And they answer that they don't. At that point, that's considered closing arguments, and that is the halacha which follows the chachamim. Avol ba'u edim, however, the exception to that is, what happens if witnesses come in Medina Sayam from overseas? Or there's a pile of documents that the deceased father had, which was being held onto by a third party, and those things are presented after the person claims that they don't have any further evidence. In both of those situations, witnesses overseas, you can say similar to what we said earlier in the Gemara, that perhaps the person forgot about them or didn't know about them. And the same thing with the documents that they had that belonged to their father. Maybe they didn't know about them, and those would be used as supporting evidence even after they said they don't have any. Ki asar Rav Dimi Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rav Dimi came to Bavel, and he said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan the following halacha: Hatokev es chaver b'din. If one person is pushing the other about going to court, echad omer nadun kan. One wants to go to the local court. Ve'echad omer nelech l'makom avad, and the other one wants to go to a different court where there are maybe higher stature judges or more of a gathering of rabbis there. And he says, I don't want to go to the local court because I think that I don't really trust you in local court. I think in local court, you're going to pull some stuff, that's going to be dishonest because you're willing to do that. You're familiar with the judges here, and you're going to try to pull some things off which are going to be dishonest. But if we go to another place where there are higher stature rabbis and you're not so familiar with them, maybe you'll be a little bit inhibited to start doing anything which is out of line. So what's the halacha? We can force the other party to go to the higher stature court. Amar lefan of Rebbe Elazar. Rebbe Elazar said to Reb Dimi, he said, Rebbe, Misha noshe b'chaveiro mana, yotzi mana almana? That doesn't make any sense. If this guy is coming to court and he's trying to recover, let's say $100 that the other person owes him, and he wants to do it in a local court, we're going to force him to travel somewhere else and pay the travel expenses on that? So he's not going to get anything out of his court case. Ella, rather, kofanosova done be'iro. We force them and they have to stay local. Itmar nami, there was a statement, Amar of Safra, in the name of Rav Safra, Shnaim shenis atzmu badin. If two people are quarreling over going to court, echad omer naldan kan, ve'echad omer neilech l'makom avad. Same thing. One wants to stay in a local court, and one wants to go somewhere else to a higher court. Kofanosova done be'iro. We force them and they must stay local. However, v'im hutzrach davar lishol, if there's a question that this local court has and they want to take it to a higher authority, then kosvin v'sholchen, we would send that question and we would send it to that higher court. V'im amar, and if the litigant requests kisvu utnuli me'ezetam dantuni, kosvin v'nosnelo, if he requests a written explanation of what the final verdict is, we would give that to him. In normal circumstances, we would not give that to him. If he went to a court on his own volition, we would not honor that request. But in this case, since we forced him to stay local and he didn't want to, we would give that written thing to him. V'hayavama, if you have a case where you have a woman and her husband dies childless and she is to marry her husband's brother, she is holeches achar hayavam lahatira. If nowadays we perform chalitza, which is a ceremony which exempts them from marrying each other, so in order to perform chalitza, it has to be done in front of a beis din. So she, the woman, must go to the town of the brother-in-law. Ad kama, to what extent must that be done? Amar Rabbi Ami afilu mitiveria litzipore. Even if this is not a distance requirement, this is saying even if the two courts, one of them is greater than the other one, the same way Tiveria and Tzipore compared, even if one of them is greater to that extent, we disregard that. And the main concern is that the woman traveled to the place of the brother-in-law. Why is that? Amar of Kahana, my kara, what's the pasuk that supports that notion? The karu lo ziknei iro. It says that the elders of his city will speak, will call to him. Velo ziknei ira, and not the elders of her city. Amar Meimar said, Hilchasa, the final halacha is, Kofinoso v'yelech l'makom havad. In fact, we would force the person, if they wanted to go to a higher court, one of the parties wanted to, we would force them and they would have to go to the higher court. Amar le Rav Ashi la Meimar, Rav Ashi said to Meimar, V'ha'amar Rabbi Elazar, but Rabbi Elazar made a good point. And he said, Kofinos v'dan b'iro. Rabbi Elazar made a good point. Rabbi Elazar said we should make them stay local because it's not fair to force him to go abroad and make him spend the money that he's going to only just in the end regain anyway. So Meimar says, Hani Mili, that's only true where the borrower wants to bring the lender is trying to recover his money, and the borrower wants to go out of town. So in that case, we force them to stay here. We would not force the lender to pay money to go out of town and then only just recover that money. Everything's going to cancel. He's not going to get anything out of it. Avol malve, however, if the lender himself, for whatever reason, wishes to go out of town in order to recover the money, then eved love leish malve. A borrower is, so to speak, subject, or is like a slave to the lender, and the lender basically has the upper hand, and he can decide where they want to go to court. Shalchu leila Mar Ukva. The Beis Din in Eretz Yisrael sent a message to Mar Ukva, who was in Bavel, and they said the following thing: L'deziv le kibar bisya shalom, to the one whose face shines like the child of Bisya, who was Moshe Rabbeinu, right? To the one, you Mar Ukva, your face shines like none other than Moshe Rabbeinu. Shalom, like Shalom Aleichem. they said to them, and then they said, Ukvan habavli kavel kadamana. There was a person, Ukvan, who was from Bavel, and he came to Eretz Yisrael, and he complained to us, the judges in Eretz Yisrael, about the following case. He complained to us and said, Yirmiyah achi heavier alayas aderech. My brother Yirmiyah, he's being dishonest with me in business. So the judges in Eretz Yisrael were now sending this message to Mar Ukva, and they said, this is what we want you to do. Imru lo, we would like you to speak to this person, Yirmiyah, and see if you and Bavel can try to work this out between this person, Ukvan, Habavli, and Yirmiyah, see if you can work out whatever it is that they need to settle. And then try to push him to see if you can get him to come back to Tiberia, to Israel, and we can deal with him here. So the Gemara asks, Hagufa Kasha, that itself is contradictory. Amrit, they said, Imru lo, meaning speak to him, Alma, which sounds like Dainuha Atun, which sounds like they're asking Mar Ukva to handle the case in Bavel. And then they said, and see if you can kind of bother him and try to force him to get him to come back to Israel. Alma, that sounds like Shadruhu Hacha. They want him to come back and they'll deal with the case. So what exactly did the judges in Eretz Yisrael want? Elohachi Ka'amri, this is what they were saying. Imrule, you should, Imrule, by saying that you should speak to him and try to work it out. Dainu Atun, they were saying to Mar Ukva, we would like you to try to handle the case. Eat Sayas. If he listens to you, so then you'll deal with it. V'ilo, but if he's not conforming, then he si'u v'ir panenu b'Tiveria. At least try to force him to travel back to Israel, to Tiberia, and we can handle the case. Rav Ashi Amar. Rav Ashi said, no, I'll tell you what the story was. What's going on here was Dine Knasos Hava. The case revolved not around a claim of what we would call mammon, money that someone was trying to sue the other, but rather it was a knas, it was like a penalty fine that somebody was claiming from the other person. And the halacha is, we learned in the first parak, Bavel lo dainu dine knasos. In Bavel, in order to force somebody to pay a fine, the dayanim had to have smicha, which could have only been done in Eretz Yisrael, where there was an unbroken chain of smicha going all the way back from Moshe Rabbeinu. But in Bavel, none of the dayanim in Bavel had smicha, so they had the right to judge cases, but not cases that involved fines, and that's what was going on here. So they wanted him to come back to Eretz Yisrael so that they could recover the money that was a fine. So why then did they send anything to Mar Ukva? Why did they send the message to Mar Ukva? Out of respect for him, that he was a great judge, and the other one of the litigants was located in Bavel. They sent the letter to Mar Ukva. Hadron Alach Zeh Borer.
It's a big thing to force someone to travel such a long way.